Interviews with Tapestrists, Volume 18, Cherim's Heart of Anequina, by Livius Peruz, professor at the Imperial University. Contemporary with Makamat Lucene, interviewed in Volume 17 of this series, is the Khajiiti Cherim, whose tapestries have been hailed as masterpieces all over the Empire for nigh on 30 years now. His 4 factories located throughout elsewhere make reproductions of his work, but his original tapestries command stellar prices. The Emperor himself owns 10 Cherim tapestries, and his representatives are currently negotiating the sale of 5 more. The muted use of colour contrasted with the luminous skin tones of Cherim's subjects is a marked contrast with the old style of tapestry. The subjects of his work in recent years have been fabulous tales of the ancient past, the gods meeting to discuss the formation of the world, the Chimera following the prophet Veloth into Morrowind, the wild elves battling Morrihouse and his legions at the White Gold Tower. His earliest designs dealt with more contemporary subjects. I had the opportunity to discuss with him one of his first masterpieces, the Heart of Anequina, at his villa in Orcrest. The Heart of Anequina presents an historic battle of the 5-year war between Elsewhere and Valenwood, which raged from 3E 394, or 3E 395, depending on what one considers to be the beginning of the war, until 3E 399. In most fair accounts, the war lasted 4 years and 9 months, but artistic license from the great epic poets added an additional 3 months to the ordeal. The actual details of the battle itself, as interpreted by Cherim, are explicit. The faces of 120 wood elf archers can be differentiated one from the other, each registering fear at the approach of the Khajiiti army. Their hauberks catch the dim light of the sun. The menacing shadows of the Elsewhere battle cats loom on the hills, every muscle strained, ready to pounce in command. It is not surprising that he got all the details right, because Cherim was in the midst of it, as a Khajiiti foot soldier. Every minute part of the Khajiiti traditional armor can be seen in the soldiers in the foreground. The embroidered edging and striped patterns on the tunics, each lacquered plate on loose-fitting leather in the Elsewhere style, the helmets of cloth and fluted silver. Cherim does not understand the point of plate mail, said Cherim. It is hot for one, like being both burned and buried alive. Cherim wore it at the insistence of our Nord advisors during the Battle of Zelinin, and Cherim couldn't even turn to see what my fellow Khajiiti were doing. Cherim did some sketches for a tapestry of the Battle of Zelinin, but Cherim finds that to make it realistic, the figures came out very mechanical, like iron golems or Dwemer centurions. Knowing our Khajiiti commanders, Cherim would not be surprised if giving up the heavy plate was more aesthetic than practical. Elsewhere lost the Battle of Zelinin, didn't she? Yes, but Elsewhere won the war, starting at the next battle, the Heart of Anequina, said Cherim with a smile. The tide turned as soon as we Khajiit sent our Nordic advisors back to Solitude. We had to get rid of all the heavy armor they brought to us and find enough traditional armor our troops felt comfortable wearing. Obviously, the principal advantage of the traditional armor was that we could move easily in it, as you can see from the natural stances of the soldiers in the tapestry. Now, if you look at this poor perforated Cathay rot, who just keeps battling on in the bottom background, you see the other advantage. It seems strange to say, but one of the best features of traditional armor is that an arrow will either deflect completely or pass all the way through. An arrowhead is like a hook, made to stick where it strikes if it doesn't pass through. A soldier in traditional armor will find himself with a hole in his body and the bolt on the other side. Our healers can fix such a wound easily if it isn't fatal, but if the arrow still remains in the armor, as it does with heavier armor, the wound will be reopened every time the fellow moves. Unless the Khajiit strips off the armor and pulls out the arrow, which is what we had to do at the Battle of Zelinin. A difficult and time-consuming process in the heat of battle, to say the least. I asked him next, is there a self-portrait in the battle? Yes, Cherim said with another grin. You see the small figure of the Khajiit stealing the rings off the dead wood elf? His back is facing you, but he has a brown and orange striped tail like Cherim's. Cherim does not say that all stereotypes about the Khajiit are fair, but Cherim must sometimes acknowledge them. A self-deprecating style in self-portraiture is also evident in the tapestries of Ranulph Hook, the next artist interviewed in volume 19 of this series.